Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon and good evening, depending on where you're joining in from. Firstly, I'd like to welcome everyone. We're very excited to be here and to be talking about smart packaging, the future of smart packaging, and especially how the ecosystem can come together in order to deliver the solution. We've heard a lot about smart packaging in the last 12 to 24 months, and I think it's time for reality to match that hype. And I think one of the things that I'd particularly like to see to make that happen is to get the ecosystem working together, collaborating, because we believe that it is only when the ecosystem works together that we can deliver on a smart packaging solution. So um, we have a wonderful panel, which comes all the way. I'm sitting in India. My name is Murad. I'm the founder of Sepio Products, and we're a digital supply chain company focusing on intelligent smart packaging. And I've got Wolfram with me, who is dialing in from Germany. He heads global business development for Edelmann. I have Danny sitting in the East Coast, who's the co-founder of Penelope Bourbon. I have Vinod sitting here from India. He's the managing director of Skanem Labels. And then we've got Dhiraj, who's the managing director of Videojet, one of the world's leading printing companies, and he's sitting in the East Coast as well. So we're covering a whole host of continents and countries here among us. And what I thought we could do today is to start by understanding, what some of my colleagues in this ecosystem are hearing from their customers and brands about their smart packaging requirements. Specifically, what are the challenges or pain points that brands are trying to solve using digital supply chain solutions or smart packaging solutions? And given that we've got a good geographic representation on this panel, it'll be interesting to get that point of view from a developed market perspective as well as an emerging market point of view. So, Wolfram, I mean, to come to you, Edelman's a leading packaging company to global brands, Procter Gamble, L'Oreal, and the like. So specifically, when you are talking to some of these large global companies, what are you hearing? What's the problem they're trying to solve? Is it track and trace? Is it authentication, consumer engagement, some other combination thereof?
Well, it is still packaging plays a major role today in the traditional point of sale. What we see, and our core business is that we try to attract with the design and the shape the consumer to buy the product. So today, packaging is still not very customized or even personalized. Now, on the other hand, more and more communication is happening through channels, through internet, social media, or different types of platforms. So we try or we can enjoy by today personalized marketing, which is customized by my age, by the region where I'm in, or by the interest I specifically have. So there's a lot of data flow by today. The aim, and this is what is coming from our customers and from the consumer, is that smart packaging can combine both packaging and the digital content. So brand owners have an increased interest to become packaging more interactive. So that enables them to gather the data, to know the consumer better, and customize the offer, which is very, very important. They engage them to loyalty programs, very common as well. Educate them how to use the product in today's world of COVID-19, or to communicate them on their brand stories.
Yeah.
To answer your question, pharma industry is largely interested by authentication of their products, to track and trace, which are sometimes regulated as well by the government. The track and trace also is a very, very common feature by food brands, to let the consumer get access to the journey of a product from the field to the fork. So they want to know where is the ingredients of a product coming from, which I have bought. So it helps the brand owners to communicate and to educate consumers about the brand's sustainable targets, and invites them as well to participate into it. Communication is key. And lastly, consumer brands want to engage and interact more with the consumer, providing them with information, interaction, and education. So COVID has reinforced the interest in smart packaging. E-commerce is the fastest growing market in beauty and personal care, and has drastically accelerated. Smart packaging will help to connect consumers easily with digital-driven customer services, such as tutorials. When I am using the product at home, I need to know how it works. Hair color retail is something which is a very good example. Or to let them apply bonus system, to cross selling proposals, and to, of course, having more access to social media platforms.
No, that's really interesting, Wolfram. I think, the point you made on personalization, almost every experience that we talk about in today's world, whether it's a hotel or an airline or a bank, the experience is personalized to you, depending on your customer relationship. But yet packaging, it's the same experience, whether I'm talking to the packaging or, it's my grandmother or, my daughter in the US. So I think that personalization is going to become extremely important. Switching gears, Dhiraj, from an emerging market point of view, you have a vantage point sitting in India, Southeast Asia. So are brands trying to solve a similar problem, or are they trying to focus on more unique problems that are prevalent to this part of the world? I think the audience would love to get a little bit of flavor in terms of what some of your customers are telling you.
So I think, Murad, thanks for bringing me in. If we talk about the emerging market, I think we are at stage 1 right now. And why I'm saying it's stage 1, still the industries are looking inside. And what I mean by inside is they are more focusing on, first of all, tracking their product from manufacturing to end user, number 1, and also simultaneously solving the problem of counterfeiting in the supply chain. And that's the reason they are trying to build in smart packaging, not only in the high-end products, but even at a low-end product of maybe around staple food like atta, right? Which we call in India, it's a staple food, very common staple food. But the customers like ITC, if we talk about, the customers like Unilever, we talk about, on simple things like soap, simple things like detergent, simple things like atta, they are trying to make the packaging more smarter enough in terms of printing with lasers, permanent marking with lasers, having some alphanumeric coding around, right? So these are the things which they are working on right now, primarily to really save their supply chain. Secondly, also to really map out the demand generation and the flow of the supply. As Wolfram was sharing about the data, absolutely. The data points are, data science in itself is coming up like immense in these industries right now. And they are trying to collect these data points in terms of how is the lifting of these products is happening in the shelf. For example, if we talk about Delhi, how the North Delhi is behaving on that particular product on the shelf. And that gives the data points in terms of what is the demographic demand generation, demographic impact on the supply chain they are having. So that is the level of data point they are trying to collect, number 1. And then again, going back to their making their supply chains more efficient. Coming to the point in connecting to the customers for the customer interest in terms of graduating their experience for mapping the entire supply chain back to the originality, or for that matter, branding and then loyalty programs. I think we are still to cover the room here in India, because the domestic demand supply in terms of regulatory impact on these track and trace regulations is not that strong for domestic demand or domestic consumption. It is still to a niche segment of exports, and particularly in pharma, what we are doing from India. Correct. We have still a lot of room to cover if we come to the food segment in terms of the track and trace supply. The thing which is coming up recently is the e-commerce segment in India, where they have a lot of track and trace mechanisms to be inbuilt. The likes of Amazons, the likes of Mintras, and also the automobile, which has a higher capital intensive impact on the supply chain when it comes to the part replacement of counterfeiting or a parallel local market which is operating out in the consumption of those parts in automobile. So this is what we are experiencing in India.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, Dhiraj, to hear you talk about counterfeiting in particular. I think for the global audience, listening in, there's a famous story in India where a few years back, since you mentioned e-commerce, somebody had ordered a mobile phone, from one of the leading e-commerce portals, and what arrived at the consumer's end was a bar of soap. So somewhere along the supply chain, the product got swapped out, for the greatest counterfeit of all. So I think having tighter controls, exactly to your point, being able to track, digitize the supply chain, know where things are, how they're moving. I think that's an extremely important point. And both of you all have this underlying theme around innovation being key. So let's talk a bit about innovation, right? So y'all are leading players from labels to printers, etc. So what are y'all doing? So Vinod, from a labeling perspective, I'll bring you in. What innovations is Skanem working on, maybe globally, in India, perhaps even on the, more importantly, on the digital side? Are labels going to start to get connected, start talking to consumers on some of the things that Wolfram and Dhiraj were talking about?
Thank you for bringing me in, Murad. And just a quick information on Skanem. We've got around 4 sites here spread across in India and almost around 14 sites worldwide. And one of the key things that we are currently working on, innovations. We just don't want to be just a label printer. We just want, we are trying to make sure that the decorations that you have across your products start communicating with your customer. Ultimately, who doesn't want to directly interact with the customer? You need to get the information with regard to your customer. You don't need an MI or an MR company to give you details. What would it feel for your label to actually give you details about your entire customer? Like what Dhiraj was mentioning, or probably Wolfram was mentioning, it's all about database. If your labels are able to collate these information and give it to you, that's the best thing that you want from your labels. And we are currently working on that. So these are called the smart labels. The name itself indicate that we are onto something which is something which is equivalent to what you call a smart plus or a smart pack as of now. So I just want to give you a story which just happened around 10 or 12 months back, roughly a year back. I was talking to the head of purchase of one of the largest Indian conglomerate. I don't want to name it. And I was just telling them that, they've got different divisions. One of that is a large digital retail outlet. And I said, you call it like, digital outlet, and you have hordes of human power out there. A customer walks in, what he sees or what she sees is just human power. And how can you call it digital? The experience of what a person needs to get when he walks into or she walks into a digital store has to be truly digital. Imagine this: if a customer walks in and the person who's standing at the gate of your store hands over a reading device, and the person walks in and moves this digital device or a reading device onto any product, the label of any product that he or she wants to get information about. The product starts communicating to the customer, and this is something which actually revolutionized the entire thought process. And we started actually working on it. Unfortunately, COVID happened, but again, this whatever happens for good. And now with COVID coming into place, it solves a lot of problems for this particular customer. You have less interaction with customers. You have less human power involved in running a store. You can manage the human count within the retail outlet. So this is something which we have been currently working with. It's called the smart labels. It can capture the database of the customer, collate it, and give it to you as a part of your dashboard on a real-time basis. So this is something which we are currently working on.
Yeah, and I think, Vinod, also you're mentioning an India example where you talk about labor and, obviously COVID being presenting challenges on social distancing, etc. But even in more developed markets where labor is expensive, so to even get that availability of labor in the store, to train them, bring them up to a particular level, and then even during retail, there's always the peaks and slowdowns. So these are all challenges that brands, retailers all face. So I think a solution like what you're describing in terms of having smart labels, consumers directly interacting with that also solves for a lot of those problems, right?
Yeah, Murad, just a quick addition. I think you touched upon a very raw subject, because that's one of the key problems that these guys had in the retail outlets. They say that every 3 months they have a huge problem with regard to the human power leaving, the retail outlet. What they do is, during the initial phase, around couple of months, they train them, and after that they leave. So what happens is, half of the time of these retail store owners or the managers, it goes in training these human power. And once they get trained, they leave. It's all about who gives a better, salary to them. $10 here or there, people tend to leave, and they take away the information along with it. So one thing is, yes, it takes account of the people moving in and out. The second thing, it gives the right kind of information to the customer rather than adding, things that doesn't apply to that particular product. Right kind of information.
And Dhiraj, from a printing perspective, right? I mean, obviously, smart packaging, the foundation of which is serialization, right? So it's extremely important to be able to put a code. So when I talk to clients or potential customers, the first question is, okay, we understand the software, it's on the cloud, but how do I get either an NFC label or an RFID tag or a QR code? How do I put that on my printer, on my product? Which then brings in, labeling, printing. And also the second challenge around it is that, all the packaging is not the same, right? I mean, there could be drums and tubes and pouches and, mono cartons, etc. So what is Videojet working on, in terms of innovation to be able to do printing, serialization, things like that?
So from the Videojet perspective, I think let me start from the perspective of the end user first. So what these guys are looking forward to. These guys are looking forward to, in terms of a common collaborated effort from the powers who are working in these areas in the market, to give them a turnkey solutions, which is a long sustainable solution. From Videojet perspective, we do have competencies around printers, printing, also the printers which are actually working on IoT fundamentals and remote connectivity printers. We also do have some kind of bandwidth muscles available with us in Europe and Americas in terms of more track and trace vision solutions and software integrations. However, we definitely work around people who are expertise in these areas, who are the small system houses or bigger system houses, who can really work and integrate with our printers to have a defined solutions and go to the market. For example, even your organization, Murad, I think we are doing a couple of projects together in terms of solving big problems in the industry today. So we are more into a collaborative mode at this stage.
Perfect. So, Danny, I'd love to bring you in. Thank you for being so patient with us. And, switching to, from a brand's perspective, what would you like to see this ecosystem, provide to people like you?
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me today. As a brand owner, sales never stop, and that's why I'm on the road today, as you can see. But no, from a brand's perspective, smart packaging really has two sides to it, right? My consumer engagement side, my marketing, and then my kind of warehousing and supply chain side. From consumer engagement side, I have product, all over the United States and in a couple other countries. I don't have boots on the ground in all of the areas that I distribute to. So it's important for me to have a way to engage with that consumer and find out where that product is being used. So if I had a smart packaging solution, then I could find out more data about who is buying my product. I could specialize, the type of engagement that I send to them to get them excited about the product. For instance, if somebody buys my product in California, I may choose to decide put some sort of different marketing material in front of them than I would for somebody that maybe lives in Texas or in Canada or all over the world as we grow, right? And that's important to have that in place early on so that it can grow with me and grow with my consumer base. So that's something that really interests me, and we've talked a lot about, and I've been trying to work into my product and maybe even putting it into my labels. So I'm hoping to do that very, very soon. That way it can grow with me. Data is so important these days, and I feel like the alcohol industry may be a little archaic in that aspect as far as how to retrieve that data. So having a smart packaging solution would help me gather as much data as I need so I could really tailor my marketing dollars towards specific consumers. As a growing brand, my marketing expenses or my marketing budget isn't as large as I would like to have it, as we're growing. So if I'm spending more directed dollars at a consumer base that I know more about, then that would be even better. From a supply chain standpoint, I have a lot of different parts that go into my product, labels, capsules, corks, so that all coming together and then going into one finished product, it's important for me to understand where they are, where they're coming from, where they're at in the process. Some of our parts come from overseas. So it's just kind of like a juggling act to kind of keep inventory and understand where things end up. I also produce in about 4 different locations around the country. So I have materials all over the country in different factories. So being able to have a dashboard and just look at something on screen and see where everything is and the quantities would be really useful for me, especially at this point in our brand as we're growing and we don't have dedicated resources to just focus on supply chain. I'd like to be able to spend more time on the marketing and sales side to push more product. And if I had a simple supply chain solution that kind of put everything in one place, it would help me out and free up a lot of my time so that I can go sell and market better. Warehousing as well, like when I warehouse my product, I have a lot of product coming in and out and going to different distributors throughout the country and different countries throughout the US and then different countries as well. So kind of knowing where all that finished product is at one point would be very useful for me, especially since I have multiple distributors in the country that all have different systems right now. So kind of unifying that would be really important.
No, that's great. I mean, and Danny, of course, the underlying theme is data and information is what you're talking about. Be it at the consumer or the front end to customize your campaigns, or in the supply chain in order to be able to better manage inventory, working capital, and costs. So one of the things I know we at Sepio are excited about is obviously kicking off and starting to work with Penelope in the Northeast next month. So we're looking forward to that. From everyone, we're hearing that there is all of this opportunity, right? So there clearly seems to be a problem statement here to solve, but there must be some constraints or challenges holding brands like Danny's or P&G back, right? I mean, to quickly, cost effectively implement smart packaging at scale. So, Dhiraj, what do you see as some of the challenges to deploying smart packaging?
So there are multiple challenges, and definitely one is the correlation between the cost and the effectiveness of the entire supply chain, right? So whenever you are investing in such kind of projects, the outcome has to be relevantly effective in terms of the cost benefit ratio. So maybe industry is gathering that data, because particularly if I take example of ITC, it took them almost more than 2 years to realize that this project can lead them to some kind of benefit in the long term in terms of their customer loyalty or in terms of fighting against counterfeiting. But 2 years is a significant amount of time.
Sure.
And it's not on the priority, but it is a significant amount of time. I think the technology advances itself in so very fast today. So that is one biggest challenge I'm trying to focus on. Second, again, is they are actually fighting in the multiple priorities. One is definitely everybody is talking about data, but how robust our internal systems are to actually engineer that data and then to really analyze that data is a big call. Today, there's a lot of room to be done because entire digitalization is based on how you are actually managing your data effectively and efficiently. So this is going in parallel, because if you say I am having 1 million users in particular sector, how I am going to behave in that user? So where is my counterfeiting lying? How can I
Right.
utilize that data both in terms of digitalization and in terms of loyalty and demand generation? It's a big call. So I think it's a gradual journey, and it might take a little bit of a time, but I think the industry is there to realize that.
Okay. Vinod, what about from your perspective? What will it take for smart packaging to be deployed, more quickly, more cost effectively?
I think your question has the answer. The first thing is all about cost, Murad. You talk about a normal label, or you talk about an NFC or RFID. You're talking about at least 4 to 5 times the cost. So I don't see any brand owner who's going gung-ho about let's go and launch it. So this is the skepticism that I'm seeing in the market. The first thing. Second thing is finding the right kind of partnership, with regard to providing the solutions, the right solutions. Of course, I can get the print ready. Dhiraj can provide me the printer. But what about the true kind of partnership that I can have with regard to providing the cloud service, providing the software solutions, having the right kind of app? That's the second thing. The third thing is still the rudimentary mindset. I don't think even though probably the brand owner may be ready, I don't know how much is the crowd ready for it or the market ready for it. So I would say these are the main three constraints I would look at. I think it's common, across the globe.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I see that challenge. Right now, for example, Dhiraj, Videojet, and Sepio are working on a client together, and we've got so many stakeholders who are coming together to actually solve that problem. So I see that, so it's quite apparent from all of the things people are talking about that the ecosystem needs to collaborate better. Whether it's a printer, a labeling company like Skanem, whether it's a line automation company, or even cloud-based technologies like ours, like Sepio. So Wolfram, what is Edelmann doing? I know y'all are, you've been talking about delivering a one-stop shop solution for smart packaging in Europe. So what are y'all doing to make that a reality for your clients?
I mean, well, you said it takes time to convince people, but we realized in a couple of times, it takes time to convince those guys, but once they are ready, once they want something, or once they get interested, the most important thing is time to market, and this is getting more and more important in today's days. That customers, if they want to have something done, they want to have a solution provided, and therefore they expect not only a part of a packaging, just a simple folding box or leaflet, but they expect more and more solution-driven end-to-end solutions. And as a consequence of that, ecosystem need to collaborate better. That we are able to offer fast and customized solution, which we still can keep then flexible if they want to change, if they want to adjust something at a later stage. And this is where we believe that Edelmann offers with our plans, on one hand, the ideal footprint to be close to our regional global customers with these 20 plants all over the world, where we do offer the right mix of machines in offset and digital, and several coding devices. Just bear in mind, even though our customers do a lot of serialization on their own, we still run more than 10 machines for serialization, only to support them, as they don't have currently enough capacity on their lines for serialization of their codes. So basically, this is going to happen in the pharmaceutical industry today. And of course, we need to collaborate with reliable partners like you at Sepio to bridge our capabilities, as we are not a specialist in IoT solutions. So we need to have a reliable partner who can give us the support together with a customer, like a three parties project, which we are going to handle then. So one-stop smart solutions help the customers to get a quick access to smart packaging. It avoids them as well to put a lot of project management into, as we would offer them the entire solution, which is less time consuming than organizing them on their own end at the brand owners level. So in that case, customers would not need to worry anymore to add codes, which we can always start, or we can almost start immediately with a transformation, and try additional solutions.
Oh, wonderful. And Danny, finally, from a brand's perspective, the final word. What would you like? You've got the entire ecosystem here, from labeling to printing to packaging guys to cloud players like ourselves, right? So what would you like us to do to make smart packaging and a digital supply chain a reality for brands like you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love hearing all of this, and I guess what I'd be looking for is just how to kind of provide an integrated solution at a low cost for me, and kind of like having that cutting edge technology to implement smart packaging is important, and sort of combining the solutions into simple solutions that can be implemented easily in my supply chain. I have various partners that I work with to provide products, and just having a solution that could be easily distributed out to them and implemented would be really important. And I think last, just a scalable solution, something that is going to grow with me, as I get bigger and bigger and bigger, hopefully. I mean, that the solution that I start with early on is still going to be the solution that I have as I grow, and when I'm 3-5 times bigger, or even much bigger.
No, perfect. I think you bring up some really interesting points. Low cost, scalability. These are all things for us to go back and see how we can come together to deliver this for you. So I know we're coming up on our time. So I'd just like to thank each of you, Wolfram, Danny, Vinod, and Dhiraj, for taking this time out and spending this time. Hopefully the people listening in and who hear the recording will find it exciting and learn something new. And I think all of the people on the call here, right from a packaging partner to a labeling partner to a printing partner and myself, I think we would all love to connect and see how we could deliver some of these low cost and scalable, effective solutions to brands like Danny. A lot of us are based in India, which is the birthplace of innovation, because I think for anyone who's worked in India, we can give a testament to it's the most price competitive market in the world. And if we can make it here successfully, we can probably sell it effectively anywhere outside of India. So if anyone wants to email us, please get in touch with Brittany, who's organizing the conference, or you can reach out to Murad, Murad, at Sepio, Sepio products.com, and I can connect you with any of the partners that we have on the call today as well. So again, thank you everyone, and Brittany, I will thank you for setting this up.